a transgender basketball star by the name of Harriette Mackenzie is claiming that she is at a disadvantage versus her female opponents, which has led to a ton of people kind of frustrated on the internet and has led to more discussion on a transgender role in female sports. We'll break down to that and more. Stay tuned.
Hi friends, I'm coming on here today because I need to get something off my chest. This past weekend, the Columbia Bible College Bearcats visited our home gym for 2 league games. On Friday night, my teammates and I played some great basketball and ended up winning by 12 points. After the game, I went home with my family, but the opposing team's head coach, Taylor Claggett, cornered one of our athletic staff and went on a tirade about how I shouldn't be allowed to play.
Now, here's the thing where a lot of backlash come up, and I have to be careful with my words, platform I'm on, and not just being on YouTube. I don't want to disrespect anyone because there's many reasons why people would make multiple decisions, including transition. Some people are victims of being abused by that said race that they currently are, and some people want to transition away from the race. It's just a lot of different variables that lead to someone becoming a transgender. But what I will say is that it appears, due to liberal gaslighting, that people that are LGBTQ, they are given a false reality that every single person in the world has to accept inclusion in some places where DNA might disagree. So it's not about emotion, it's just about DNA. See, me as a man, I'm able to, well, I don't want to say that because that could be clipped in a bad way, but I'm physically have more strength than a woman. A woman would typically have more difficulty doing standard tasks, such as carrying a grocery upstairs, than an average man might would, or or all the way down to endurance, being able to endure, the body being able to endure a massive amount of pain. We have a higher physical threshold, pain threshold, than women, and women have a better internal pain threshold. There are some differences between us and similarities, that being that we both have pain thresholds. But the important part of all is that it's completely unhinged to sit here and think that people have to accept parts of reality where DNA doesn't accept it. And we'll go into that, but I just have to be careful with how I say it. I hope you guys understand that DNA is sexist. DNA is narcissistic. DNA is even racist, I might add. A lot of people are unaware that if you are black and you have a white spouse and you have a child, neither you are eligible to give that child your bone marrow, and that's because your DNAs don't match that child. Now, does that mean interracial marriages are wrong? No, it doesn't mean that. I've even dated, outside of race, but what it does mean that there is data that shows that when you do partake in that there might be some disadvantages for the child. And if that's ignored, then that would lead to more children being at risk of whatever those disadvantages are. And what liberals have done, they've gaslighted America into ignoring the issues that are right in front of us. Biological men have an advantage in aspects like basketball, such as being able to dunk, being able to power arm all the other women, the endurance. It's massive advantages.
Fast forward to Saturday morning, I woke up to a call from my coach who was on the verge of tears. He asked if I was okay and if I was aware of the situation on social media. After the night before his game, Taylor Claggett's brother and business partner, Kyle Claggett, had posted the following on his Instagram story. During the game later that afternoon, my team rallied together and we ended up playing our best game yet. However, it soon became evident that CBC's tactic had shifted to simply trying to injure me. Coming out of halftime, our 14-point lead was starting to grow, and unsurprisingly, CBC started to get even dirtier. In the unsporting foul, you can see here, I get two-hand chucked to the ground by number 13 without a play on the ball in sight. Then,
So this individual, she goes to Vancouver Island University. Now, if there is foul play being done, if she is an eligible teammate, then she has to be treated fairly. The problem is that she be allowed to compete on the court, but once she's allowed to compete on the court, she's doing everything she's supposed to do. They're supposed to give them complete immunity, I would think. I don't think they should have aggressive fouling, going through the same things that you might see Caitlin Clark go through. I don't think that's fair on anyone. It's extremely demeaning because at the end of the day, we're all human. If someone's been accepted and went through the due process of being on the team, I wouldn't condone them bullying that person. You got to take that up with the system itself. And that's what the system wants. It wants us to attack each other. The system, they have ways of getting us riled up and to attack each other, and not the system itself, not the system that creates maybe the ideologies, and not the system that creates the victimhood. We end up attacking the people that embrace these things, and that's what I'm never really down to support.
Coach Taylor Claggett can be seen applauding in support. Sadly, situations like these are nothing new to me. Throughout my entire playing career, I've been outed and attacked by everyone from players to coaches to fans.
And it is expected, just because it's like, if you have this person in that role, it's a very different role than what people are used to. Now, hazing, no, they shouldn't haze them. Like I say, take it up with the system. Why are you beating on the player? Because in that player's mind, they're just trying to possibly live their dream as being a basketball star, and I guess they might feel like they wouldn't be comfortable with being a man. Hey, that's not really them that you're supposed to take it up with. You're supposed to take it up with the system that allow it, and don't tell them that they're able to compete, But to attack the person, it does nothing. If the system gets attacked, that's the money that gets attacked. But you're attacking the person, you're helping the system make more money because you're bringing more eyes to it. But if you expose the system itself, now people's jobs are on the line. Now you see real change. So I don't condone of attacking a person after you sit there and allow that person on the team. That's just not cool. I mean, a human being is a damn human being. A line has to be drawn. So that's unacceptable. But why did it get to the point where it's allowed? Why is this starting to become normalized? And what we have to expect is that people will reject a massive change like that, especially when their children careers are at risk. Because a parent is very passionate about their child's future, and if they feel like biological disadvantages at play of their children, they're going to go hard, and they're going to get supporters of that, because people that are used to the norm are going to fight hard to defend what is normal, or at least what they might assume so I feel like this Mackenzie should have to be able to understand where the backlash coming from. Don't be completely oblivious to it, but at the same time, those people have to see the humanity in them. If they want them off the team, you go through the right processes. You don't make their life a living hell, because if you like it or not, they have a very high risk of suicide. And if this person was to take their life, that's completely failed. They've been completely failed by humanity. Never supposed to give up on people, and you shouldn't haze and bully people to get them to a certain position. There's many different approaches, and I just feel like the one that they're doing with Mackenzie isn't the right one.
They try to invalidate my achievements, from Player of the Year to National MVP, claiming she...
Well, see, I don't know, but I don't know about getting awards. Like, you can't set a precedence for that thing, because let's say if this person gets tons of awards, what happens? A ton of men will transition in order to get gold in places that they normally can't. Riley Gaines exposed this about how bad this problem is and why it should be addressed. So you can't set the precedent of awarding someone that has a biological advantage. There's a reason why the Olympic Games, one of the oldest traditions in humanity, is separated by gender, not by race, by the things that matter, by gender. It matters. And to completely ignore that is absolutely insane. I was in the military. We have a different PT standard than females. They don't have to do the same amount of push-ups as we do. They don't have to do the same amount of sit-ups as we do. There are different standards. Because if you place them on the same criteria as men, more will fail. That's just what we would deem unfair. You don't need that type of equality. Even if you're a transitioned female, maybe that should just be decided that's a career that you can't do, being a basketball player, because you're not going to want to have that appearance and play among men, I would think, for many reasons, distractions, etc., and possibly be harassed by a lot of men, sexually harassed by a lot of men if you're dressed that way and played on teams. So I don't think that would be the approach to go. Maybe there should be a sport for trans people that's transitioned, transition basketball. If inclusion is that important and if they have that much support, they shouldn't have a problem with creating their own sport that is catering to their gender, because there should be a massive audience waiting to see it, right? You don't actually have to just include into things that exist. It's been done with blacks. You don't have to include all the time. You can create your own thing and do your own thing sometimes.
Only won that because she's trans. Many attribute my success not to hard work and dedication, but to the fact that I am a trans woman. These people don't know my story, and they don't care to. They don't care that I began my transition in kindergarten, never having undergone a male puberty. They don't care that my testosterone levels are 1/10 that of a cis woman due to the absence of reproductive organs, placing me at a significant competitive disadvantage. They don't care. Instead, they are fueled by their shared bigotry and ignorance. They attribute my athletic ability and 6'2" frame not to my parents, both varsity basketball players in the 95th percentile for height, but to the fact that I am a trans woman. In the past, I've dealt with these situations by keeping my head down and hoping they blow over, saying nothing, not wanting to draw attention to myself. But guess what? I'm done. Done letting ignorant transphobes like Taylor and her crew spew hate against me and my community. Done staying silent while harmful narratives make today's queer youth feel as though they don't belong in sport. Done pretending like I have anything to be ashamed of. I'm proud of my story, and I want to make something very clear. Queer, trans, and non-binary people belong in sport, and there is zero.
I can't argue with them belonging in sport, but they should have, I don't say they should have, but I don't think it would be a bad idea to have their own section, to have a transgender competing section. That way, no one could ever complain again, and you can compete against people that made the same decision as you, and that matches you by from a biological standpoint. It would be fair. No one could ever scrutinize you, and then you could be able to play the victim card and say people just hate us for existing, But you give people a reason to complain. It's kind of hard to claim that it's for your existence if you give them one. If you entering spaces that typically don't have you there, they're going to complain. It's the same thing that can be said when you put a female on the front of a male-dominated video game on the cover of it. The same can be said if you put a man on the front of Maybelline. It's just we should sometimes have separations. It's what gives us our identity. And I believe that it would be beneficial if they had their own section.
Space in this league for hate, violence, and bigotry.
So here is her dominating, him, how you want to put dominating right here. And you can see the clear advantages even with height. Let me see, make sure you can see this. Even with the height, there's a height advantage that, look at that. It's not much, you see, not much trouble at all because of that mostly masculine physique. It gives us a lot of advantages, unfortunately. And things like this, they can most men could completely dominate females in basketball. It is said that Bronny, who isn't one of the best basketball players by any standard in the NBA, could single-handedly dominate the WNBA. And that is interesting because you got people that's a standard bench player, that could go into the WNBA and dominate an entire league. And there were actual statisticians that put their stats together and put their money where their mouth is and broke down how no female could compete with Bronny, and it was pretty intriguing. Even Caitlin Clark would get cooked by Bronny, LeBron James' son. So to imagine having someone like, shit, like, I'm not even gonna bring LeBron James, just bring Anthony Davis or something. They wouldn't stand a chance. They wouldn't stand a chance whatsoever, no matter really who you pick, because of our physique. It's that ability to bulldoze through the sport. At the end of the day, can anyone that supports this integration of genders in one sport, do any of you believe there's a female on earth that could stop Shaq in his prime? If you don't, and there were men that sometimes shut Shaq down. Can you find one woman that could shut Shaq, Big Diesel, down? If you could find someone that's a female that can shut him down and can compete with him, that tells me everything, that they're ready to compete. But the thing is, there were multiple men that have given Shaq problems in the NBA. Multiple. So just to find one woman could take a lifetime to do what multiple men were able to do, to shut down Big Shaq Diesel. It's just a disadvantage, and it leads to more injuries, and it leads to, unfortunately, the hate that we see this individual getting. It leads to hate because they're being sold a dream. They're being sold a dream that they're going to be accepted as a woman would, and that is just cruel, even to the transgender. Don't ever give no one a false reality. Make a better one. But just to sell them a false reality and to force inclusion, that doesn't work. It's a clear advantage, and then it's really nothing you can do about it. And like I said, person got the ability to get drafted in, so I can't fault Mackenzie for wanting to play basketball if they allow you to play basketball. The fault goes to the individuals that allow this, that make it a standard and say it's cool. If I don't see how people can't see, I don't see how people can't see this advantage.
First was the 500 freestyle.
And here's Riley Gaines breaking down
This was not
the entire thing. If you don't know, Riley Gaines went against a transgender swimmer, and they won, and she became a star from that. But it wasn't really because of the swimmer. It was the way that the supporters of that swimmer gave her backlash. It's insane. You got to see the very end of this video. It shows how unhinged it is and why it's hard for the general public to start supporting people of the cause, because of how unhinged they become when Americans just want to keep the things the way it's always been.
an event that I did, so I sat on the side of the pool and watched as Leah Thomas won, beating out Olympians, beating out American record holders, the most impressive female swimmers this country has ever seen by body lengths. This one swimmer beat every other swimmer in the country by seconds. So that next day of competition was the 200 freestyle, which wasn't the event that Thomas and I raced in, and ultimately resulted in a tie. We went the exact same time down to the 100th of a second. And so upon tying, we go behind the awards podium where the official looks at both Thomas and myself and says, "Great job, you guys tied, but we have one trophy. So this trophy goes to Leah." And when I questioned him, I said, why? Why are you adamant on giving this trophy to Thomas? He says, well, Thomas has to have the trophy for photo purposes. You can pose with this one, but you'll have to give it back. You go home empty-handed. Leah takes the trophy home. And that is when my eyes were, I knew the unfair competition was wrong, and I knew the lie.
That's horrible. Riley is a really great person. She lives out here in Nashville with me as well, and she's always super cool every time we get the chance to speak. It's just horrible what happened to her.
Locker room, being forced to change in front of someone who was fully intact with an exposing male genitalia. I knew that was wrong. But when this NCAA official reduced everything that I had worked my entire life for, every girl at that meet had worked their entire life for, down to a photo op for a male, that's when I knew I had had enough and I was done waiting for someone else to speak out on behalf of female athletes. It really hit me that if we as female athletes weren't willing to stick up for ourselves, how could we expect someone else to stick up for us?
This is what Riley Gaines went through after exposing this. This is what they put her through. She had to leave. The entire school, they treated her and exiled her and treated her as if she was the second coming of the devil himself. And It's unfortunate, and that's just because she was making sense, bringing up body length, bringing up the advantages that they have that Leah Thomas had genetically, and was vilified for it and treated like an absolute villain. And we're talking about a natural born woman, someone that is able to create, well, we're both able to create life, but the bringer of life. A woman is a bringer of life. The soul and the spirit, it starts with the male, but the woman, she brings the life, she nurtures it. All life is through a woman, all life starts through a woman. And to not honor that, a natural born woman, is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But like I said, I can sympathize with both parties. I just have that ability. I mean, I can sympathize with anyone because I look at things on the human aspect first, because I understand we're first human until we come into the world full of propaganda, full of lies, full of trauma, full of PTSD, bad experiences, and it molds what we become. Most of the time, intentionally molds us into things that we never would have been. So I have that sympathy for anyone, because you never know what they've been through to make them what they are. So please like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. As you can see, I'm doing more generalized news, not just straight politics, which people appear to be enjoying. So if you are one of those people, click the notification bell to stay updated until we break the next narrative.